Pups are so expensive.
If anyone deserves to be treated to a nice dinner, it's you.
This is more than nice.
Yeah, it gives me pleasure to do things for you, to get you out of the house. I only wish I could do more.
Well, you do so much for everyone but yourself. I just feel terrible that you've had to put your life on hold.
It's not true.
Luis, I know you have dreams, and you've put them aside to shoulder the responsibilities of the family.
Well, you know, Papa left us. He disappeared. So it's my duty to take over as head of the family.
You're the best son a mother could ask for.
Look, I love you and Teresa and Miguel, so it's not a responsibility. It's simply the way it is.
I don't know what we would do without you, Luis. Losing Martin was hard enough.
That's why I hate the Cranes.
Luis, please.
You know, I know that they had something to do with Papa's disappearance, and I will not rest until I find out what it is.
I wish you wouldn't think of the Cranes the way you do.
You mean realistically?
Luis, there is no proof that they had anything to do with Martin going away.
Look, the Cranes can afford to get rid of the evidence, cover everything up. That's how they operate.
I don't believe that.
I remember Papa talking on the phone to Alistair Crane the night before he disappeared. They were arguing. And I couldn't hear the words, but the conversation was tense. Papa was upset. Yeah, next morning, he went to work at the Cranes and never came back.
He was always under a lot of pressure to make more money. He had a big family to support.
Yeah, yet he still went away.
Your Papa loved us, and no man was more devoted to his family than Martin Fitzgerald. Never doubt that, Luis.
If that's true, he would have stayed with us no matter what the Cranes were doing to him. Now, something else happened, and whatever it was, it had to do with the Cranes.
Not necessarily.
Why? What do you think happened to him?
I don't know what happened to your father. The last memory I have of him is when he walked out the door that morning going off to work. I watched him as he left, and I had an uneasy feeling that something was troubling him. The way he spoke and he kissed me goodbye, it somehow wasn't my Martin. I asked him, but he just smiled and touched my cheek and said it was nothing.
No, he was hiding something.
He didn't want me to worry. But I did worry. And when he didn't come home for dinner, I just thought he was working late. He was always putting in so many hours overtime, trying to make more money for the family. But he usually called to let me know. This time he didn't. And when I hadn't heard from him by midnight, I really began to worry, and I called him at work.
Yeah, they said he wasn't there.
I stayed up the rest of the night, waiting for him, and he never came home. The next morning, I called the police.
I've read the file hundreds of times. The detective assigned to that case did a thorough investigation. He checked the hospitals, the morgue, he interviewed people. Came up empty.
The detective told me that sometimes certain people can't handle the pressure and they walk away from everything. But Martin would never do that. He loved us. And I know if he left, it was for a good reason, and that as soon as he could, he would come back to us. And he will, Luis. He only left because of his love for his family.
I don't know how you can cling to that dream, Mama.
Because your father and I were deeply in love, and I trust in our wedding vows.
Pilar? Luis?
Ethan.
Lobster Shack's a great place, isn't it?
It was till now.
What did you order, Ethan?
Good old New England scrod.
Well, enjoy it.
I was hoping I could have a word with you in private, Luis.
I'm having dinner with my mother.
Well, I apologize for interrupting, but I promise it won't take long.
Well, I'm sure it can wait.
Luis, just go and talk, please. I'll be fine.
Okay, I'll only be a minute.
Pilar? Sheridan.
I hate to bother you, but I really need to talk to you.
Of course. Please, sit down.
Julian told me some things about what happened that night. I want to know the truth. I want you to tell me. It was all in my head. That's what Julian said. It was nothing more than a bad dream. But it seemed so real to me. And that's why I'm so confused. I need your help, Pilar. I need you to tell me everything that you remember.
Sheridan, I wasn't there that night. All I know is that the next morning when I came to work, you were still upstairs in your room. I was told by your family that you were not to be disturbed, that I shouldn't go near you. I was so worried. I went anyway. I had never seen you like that. You were terribly upset, frightened to death. I could barely understand what you were talking about.
What did you understand?
You had seen a dead body under a bloody sheet. And that when you looked at your hands, they were also covered with blood. Then you became completely hysterical and you told me that you had killed someone.
Oh, God.
Before anything else could be said, Mr. Allister came into the room.
I remember Father coming into the room. I don't remember why. What did he say?
Oh, he was so angry. Your father told me that I shouldn't believe anything that you were saying. That you had had a horrible nightmare and that you were still very shaken by it.
You believed him?
I wasn't sure what to believe. You seemed to be so convinced that it had happened. I couldn't ignore what you were saying.
What did you do then?
Obeyed your father. Mr. Allister's not a man one defies, so I left.
You went home?
Not right away. I went downstairs first and looked in the living room. There was no body, no coffin, no sign of blood anywhere.
So you changed your mind and agreed with Father that it was all in my imagination?
Oh, Sheridan. You used to suffer from horrible nightmares back then, and you used to sleepwalk.
I remember I used to have crying fits, and I would weep uncontrollably.
You were sad all the time. So sad. And that's one of the reasons your father sent you to Paris.
The asylum.
My poor Sheridan. I was so worried about you. About what might happen if you were to repeat what you saw that night. So I made you promise that you would never repeat it to anyone outside the family.
And I haven't, except the doctors in Paris.
Mr. Allister told me that the doctor said that we should not challenge your story, that we could never mention it, that no one should ever know.
They think I was either a murderer or a lunatic.
All I cared about back then was protecting you.
And now, Pilar, are you still protecting me? Are you still protecting me, Pilar?
No.
I want the truth.
I'm telling you everything I know. I would never lie to you, Sheridan. Surely you know that by now.
I do. I'm sorry. It's just that I'm so desperate to find out what really happened that night.
I see how this has affected your life and haunted you, and I can't help but feel that perhaps it would be better if you listened to your brother.
And believe it was just a nightmare?
Put the past behind you, Sheridan. Don't let it take more of your life than it already has.
I want to believe that it never happened, Pilar. More than anything, I want to believe. But I have to know the truth. I have to know what happened, no matter what it is.
What's that all about?
Sheridan and I were talking.
About what? Now, why did Ethan have to come up with some dumb idea to get me away from the table? What is it that you and Sheridan were talking about that she didn't want me to hear?
So many questions.
Well, it had to be something important for her to come all the way over here to talk to the help.
Oh, Louise, you have to stop this. You mustn't be so hard on Sheridan. She's had a very difficult time.
Yeah, I know. Deciding what color nail polish to wear to match your Ferrari, I mean, that can really eat away at you, you know?
She's a very good person. It wasn't easy for her losing her mother so young. No amount of money can make up for that. Now, I know the two of you haven't hit it off, but she did a very nice thing for you.
What? When?
Did she not stand up for you against the mayor and her brother?
Look, she's the one who threw those pies at me in the first place, and she's the one who could have cost me my job.
Luis, she didn't have to say anything, especially considering the animosity between the two of you, but she rose above that. She helped you.
Yeah.
Did she or did she not come to your defense?
She did.
All right, then I think there's something you need to do.
What?
The same thing I want all my children to do, the right thing. But it must be the right thing as you see it, not what I think it is.